Hello, here we are. This is the week. Finally, it is upon us. It's been Subtember all September long, but now they're doing the promotion where you can like do gift subs and stuff, and it discount. It's written all over the splash things around the borders. So to that end, I plan on streaming tomorrow, and then again on Thursday. Hopefully, so we'll work it out. As for today's project, here it is. It's actually both of these. We have shells. We've been accumulating various shells. You can see some lobster claws in there. There's a lot of crayfish, some chunks of tail segments, lots of shrimp in this one. We've just been collecting shells, and I've actually got the lobster tail sections from last time here. Nothing has been added to that because it hasn't been very long. But I'm going to throw them in anyways as long as I'm clearing it out. No sense in having stragglers. We'll definitely be able to fill those up again. I've got lots of other stuff. Since the shellfish is all full up, it's time to roast it, boil it, make our shellfish stock out of it. Now the crayfish pieces that are in here have some of their own seasoning on them because the crayfish I got was pre-seasoned. So it's going to put some flavor in the stock that isn't just shellfish stock. I'll just have to deal with that. Nothing I can do about it at this stage. I suppose I could wash them, but then that's not worth it. So yeah, we're gonna get the oven preheating. Because there's two things. Rocks falling out of my shoes. There's two things that are going in the oven this time. The shells, which need to be roasted before I boil them. They don't need to be roasted for very long. But also, this guy. We have a sweet potato right here, which shall be also roasted. Because I don't really want to boil it. So that's also going to be roasted. And that actually has to be in there for quite a while. So that's going to be the first one that goes in. Although there's very little to do to it before it goes in. It just has to be in there a long time. So, I don't need the skin to be anything special. So I'm thinking of just pricking it and throwing it in as is. No need for oil because all we're trying to do is soften the interior so I can scoop it out and mash it. I'm going to ask our friend Google, just in case. Here, I'll get all the shells. We're going back to gnocchi, which I've made before. We're making pasta again, but we're not using the roller. Gnocchi does not go through the roller because it comes out as little pillows. So it's a whole different process. I think it's really quite easy. So let me get a very sharp fork. I have some extra. Hold on. I have some extra sharp forks I'm going to use one of. They don't live in the regular dish drawer. This guy. I found these at the thrift store. They're not made of stainless steel. They're made of standard steel, so they develop blotches and discolorations. They are very crazily sharp. I don't keep them in there because I don't want to use them real often. I don't want to reach in and accidentally poke myself on these razor sharp tips. They go in without much resistance in something like a sweet potato. I like my camera has a shift. Yeah, it has. The camera keeps shifting. So we're just going to poke this a whole bunch. You poke a potato before you bake it because there's a lot of moisture inside of a potato, and the skins are mostly watertight. And the poking creates little steam vents so your potato does not explode. And that's why you poke a potato before you bake a potato. And that guy's going to just live on that pan, and he's going to go in the oven, and he's going to be baked off, and we're going to need him later. The oven's not hot yet because I wasn't preheating my oven before we started. But let's get the shellfish out of their bags. They also need to be roasted, and they need a big old pan. Probably just save that bag. Put it back in the freezer so it doesn't get stinky, but that can still be my shellfish bag. This one can't be reused. Or was it this one? One of these. I noticed the claws or something poking through the plastic, and that's not an ideal sign. So yeah, we've got sort of all sorts of various parts. There's going to be quite a few of these crayfish halves in here, which is part of why I want to roast it too, because they were a little juicy still. And you can see at the bottom of this one, there's a big block of ice. So they don't need to be spread out in any particular way. They just kind of want to be not all in a big clump. It'll help them get roasty. And 2 full bags is about the limit of what I think I can handle in... Oh, that's not... Well, it's still icy at the bottom. It's icy there at the bottom, but most of that gray was actually shrimp shells, not liquid. The shrimp shells compact very, very well. Oh, that guy still had his tail on him. Huh, how did he end up in there with his tail still on him? That tail's empty. Most of these tails are empty, but that tail still seems to be attached to the critter it belongs to. I missed one. There you go. What was I saying? I've forgotten. Must not have been important. We're spreading the shells out just so they're more exposed to the heat of the oven, because we want all the little bits and pieces to get roasty. Oh, okay. 2 full bags. This is a quart freezer bag. 2 full bags like this is about as much as my stock pot can handle in terms of the shells. Or if you're doing it in the slow cooker, that's about how much the slow cooker can handle as well. Honestly, I think the superior way to do this is in the slow cooker, but that takes hours and hours. At least a couple hours. Shellfish stock goes faster than like chicken stock or beef bone stock. The shells are much thinner, they extract faster. Oops, I don't have a towel over there. My towel on the back of the door is in absentia. So it doesn't take super long. If I was doing a chicken stock, that would be like lots of hours. Shellfish stock, not so many, but still slower than I want for the purposes of doing the show. I can actually get shellfish stock done in the time, in a pretty normal amount of time if I do it here, because it only needs to simmer for up to an hour. So we're having some just sort of passive roasting time at the beginning here. Getting this out of the way while there's not much going on. We'll have much more active cooking toward the later phases. I don't want that there because that is the burner that gets hot when the oven is on. Oh, I never readjusted this. So the goal here, I don't have a recipe. I should. Roux and fish stock mix, velouté, and then you can turn that into we could try I don't know any shallots. Do I? No, but I have small onion. Wine. Tomato. Champagne sauce. Ooh. I'm reading through a list of sauces that use velouté, the mother sauce velouté, as their base. I like the sound of sauce aurore. But I don't know. I got lots of time to think about that. We're not just going to throw velouté right on this. We're going to use it as the basis to construct a sauce. French style. I'm not going to necessarily follow an exact recipe. I'm going to use the sort of French style concept for it. My oven clicked. Which means we are at our target temp, which is 400. 400 is a little bit high for roasting shells and a little bit low for roasting potato. Because they wanted different temperatures. So I'm going to put the potato in. And the shells. And the shells don't need a ton of time. They're frozen right now, so they need at least enough time to thaw and then get kind of roasty around the edges. Tidy up around the edges. I've actually got a tomato. It's developing some spots. So we probably should use this guy. So if I dice, oh yeah, he definitely needs to be used now. He's developed a spot on the bottom. we could use up the last few of my fresh tomatoes, make a tomato thing, combine that with our veloute to make, okay, be like a tomato fish sauce, sort of a smooth tomato fish sauce. With that as an end goal, I need to start dismembering tomatoes. So that's the next step. This tomato, big lumpy heirloom tomato, it's got a dark spot here that we're gonna have to cut out, and that is a sign that I have to use it because the dark spot means that there's probably starting to go off. So, no sense in fussing around. We're gonna cut right through where the dark spot is and see what the inside of the tomato looks like. It's not so bad actually, but we're gonna cut away that lobe. And when I do that, that's just a little scar on the surface. I'll cut it away because it's crusty, but it's not spoiled. If I'm making a sauce, I don't want crusty bits. The rest of that looks fine. We will take the little stem core out as well. For the same reason, it's crusty because it's where the stem was. The other part of our little blemish, and the other part of our stem core, and there's a little blemish there that was hidden. Okay. Okay. Get rid of the parts that I cut away. Chop up the remainder. And I'm going to cut that little hard core bit out as well. And that's just what happens with the these heirloom tomatoes because they're so lumpy. They often have little weird things on them. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. Chop everybody up a little bit more. We're going to cook this down. Ooh, that one's also got a little piece of core still in it. Okay. Let's get out a pot. This guy here. Throw these tomato pieces in. Grab another different kind of tomato. This one's not. This one's. I got to use them up. This one's in much better shape because it's less. It's newer, but there's no sense in having it sit around. It's not gonna. I have a bad habit of letting tomatoes sit around until I have to cut bits of them off to and toss them away because they're starting to develop blemishes, which is unfortunate because I buy tomatoes because I like tomatoes, and then just don't use them up. So we're kind of having a tomato medley in here. We're going to cook a bunch of the water out of this, puree it, This guy's, as long as I'm doing this. As long as I'm doing this with some of them, I may as well do this with all of them that are sitting around here. Clear the road. I'm going to be out of town for a few days, not tomorrow, but in several days for the weekend. So having things that are kind of on the edge now won't do, because they will definitely go off while I'm away. I hear loud sizzling ensuing. I believe that means that our shrimp shells, our shellfish medley, have thawed and are starting to boil off their excess waters. We have to keep an eye on them. We don't want them to burn. The goal here isn't burning. So chopped up some tomatoes. Gonna chuck them on the stove. We're gonna cook this down. And then, yeah, I think I'm probably gonna blend it. We're gonna get a bunch of the water out of it, and then I think we're gonna blend it. See what we've got. Soldier forth. Certainly smells seafoody in here. I'm gonna go ahead and take a peek. It's hard to tell. Everything's much redder, which it was gonna do regardless. It was gonna get redder regardless, because the few pieces that weren't pre-cooked were gonna turn red as they cooked. So I suppose that's a good sign. I'm probably gonna wait for the thin shrimp shells to start to develop some browning around the edges, because they'll burn first because they're so thin. I should get, well, no, I don't need water yet, because you put water on to cover whatever you've got when they get that far. Okay, so that's, I guess we're waiting. Let me get out a spoonchula. I have a pointy one. There's the pointy one. I'm going to give the tomatoes a very light salting. We don't want to oversalt them, but salt will help extract some of them, help encourage the moisture to come out of them. To accompany our future gnocchi, I've got some bay scallops, little tiny scallops that I have thawed out in an effort to clear out the freezer. We're doing more freezer clear out. You don't have to be fancy. We don't have to always be big fancy thing like last time with lobster to make some room in our freezer. In fact, I just moved some stuff around so that can live there now. Yeah, we're gonna open up some space in the freezer. Exciting. So then I can fill it with more random stuff. Okay, so yeah. How's things out in the wide world? Oops. Hopefully I'm not mute. No, I'm not mute. How's things out in the wide world these days? It has been raining like crazy for days and days. It was raining when I was here last time on Saturday, and it has essentially not stopped raining for more than an hour since then. It's just been this constant churn of rain. It's making it rather dim around here as well, because the clouds are making everything kind of dreary and gray. Feels like winter's coming. Winter's coming. Or however he says it. People still say that, or was that spoiled too when everything went to heck? Everything Game of Thrones itself to heck. I'm not sure. There's still some moisture on our pan. So I'm not ready to call it yet, but the simmering sound has turned into more of a crackling sound. This shouldn't take too much longer. They're gonna be very hot when they come out of there. They're going to be very hot when they come out of there. Twitch says we have an ad coming up in just a few seconds. So heads up for that. I should probably pull the shellfish out just after the ad, because it's going to be exciting. Well, it's going to be something that's not just standing around in us, and that should be just about the right amount of time for them as well. Or at least I can pull them out and check them at that point. Let's see, how much butter do I have on here? 3 tablespoons ready to go. That should be plenty. Our tomatoes are definitely producing a lot of liquid, which I would like to simmer off and also help them break down before I blend them. We might have to strain it to get rid of the skins. In fact, I could conceivably, once it's all softened up, mash it and then strain it to get rid of the skin pieces. This is why you usually peel your tomatoes beforehand, but I did not do that because I am a fool. The ad break is currently running. So once that timer is out, I will take our shellfish out. We'll take a peek at them. We'll see how roasty toasty they've become. If I'm satisfied, we will transfer them to the stock pot, start making our stock. Unless I want to do a pressure cook on them. Hold on, it's not too late. It's not too late. Crustacean stock in the pressure cooker. Oh, and this one has the tomatoes thrown right in. Interesting. Interesting. Well, that guy is, in fact, right here. Get the instruction book and see what it thinks about this. It does not have directions for such a thing, so I would be experimenting. Which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Stock things. Water. Pressure cook. 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. We're going to attempt to pressure cook our shrimp shells. We're back from the break. I was reading up on how to pressure cook a stock in the Magic Pot. Get this a little bit less of a boil and more of a simmer. But before that, we need to actually pull the shells out. Here they are. Everyone's gone nice and red. There's no gray-brown pieces left. We've also gone very dry. There's very little water left. There's a little bit caught in some of the shell sections, but overall there's very little water left. Looking dry and crispy around the edges. So I'm going to say that that's good. So power the Magic Pot on. Get all these guys into said Magic Pot. You guys can't even see because I adjusted the camera again. So we're going to shift focus up here. Our shells have been roasting for around 20 minutes. Most of them were cooked before that anyways, so I'm not going to go agonize over getting them really super roasty. We can kick our oven up a little bit for the sake of our potato, which essentially just needs to be roasted until it is spoon tender on the inside. Using the tongs here because the pan is, well, the pan was, no, it still is, pretty hot. But reaching the limits of what I can efficiently do. There's more juice on here than I thought there was. Since there's more juice on here than I thought there was, we're going to include the juice in the liquid, or in the stock pot, because the juice is the whole point. So get them all to kind of lay flat, and then we're gonna fill that guy up with water. We'll see how much we end up putting in there. I want enough to get up to the tops of the shells, because if there's anything sticking out the top, it won't extract. Although the shells are a little bit floaty. Currently we have 4 cups. Everybody's starting to float, so I'm going to say that, because if I push them down, yeah, everybody's at least floating. They're not poking up because they're resting on the bottom. That was 8 cups of water. We're going to close the lid. We're going to lock the dang thing. Seal our pressure gauge. High pressure for 30 minutes. Yeah. Okay. I'm committed. Let's move the potato down to the middle rack, because there's room there now. Okay. Hopefully, I have not just wasted 2 full bags of shell parts. If I have, then we are going to have a mad scramble to figure out what the heck to do in part 2. We don't need to look at the device, so we're going to come back to the front. Our tomatoes are cooking down into a mush. Okay. Yeah, things are looking good. We're once again at a stage where I'm kind of standing around for a moment. Sauces, they take a while. They are one of those things that takes a while. There's a reason that the saucier is its own separate position in a professional kitchen, because sauces are a lot of work. Okay, I don't want to get this completely dry. I want to boil a bunch of the liquid out and really soften it to a mush. But it has to be a little bit wet still, because it needs to be pureed. And I don't want anything else in there, because I don't want anything else getting incorporated into the puree. It needs to be pure. And Throw away some tomato scraps while I'm at it. Okay. Hopefully, all is well. Ah. This is probably soft enough to hit with our blender. I want it to cool off a little bit before I do that, so I'm going to take it off the heat. Get out the blend safe cup and the stick device for blending. This guy here. You're supposed to be able to at least just put this directly into like a boiling hot soup or something. So I shouldn't have to let it cool off before using this. But and this is a heat safe container as well. So in theory, I don't have to. But I'm always a little bit leery of throwing something in here that's just right off the stove hot. And I don't know why. It's just, I guess, instinct. This is all steel and heat safe plastic, so I guess let's do it. We're gonna move that away just to ensure I don't slop on the parts that are harder to clean. I'm probably imagining that it's going to spray boiling hot liquid all over me when I blend it, and that's what's holding me back. Also, slopped it right on the counter there. Okay. So this is actually the cup designed to go with this stick blender. It's got the just the right size for the blender head to go in there, and it's tall and narrow enough that it doesn't spray unless I am an idiot. So lock, press. And that that should now be super, super finely blended. And still boiling hot. I still think I want to run it through a strainer just to make sure that there's no skin pieces or seeds left in it. It'll make for a nicer result when we get to the end. But it's basically unseasoned tomato sauce. Let's find out how much we got by straining it into a measurable container. I'm going to use the glass one. Or, why am I doing that? This literally has graduated measures on the side. We have 10 ounces, probably more than we need. But I don't need a measuring cup because we literally has it on the side there. So put it in here because then I'm not going to spill it. Okay. We'll grab that same spatula. Now this isn't the finest strainer in the world, so I'm going to be real gentle, but we're just going to kind of push it through. Because yeah, see, there's lots of seeds still in there. And the seeds will get caught in the strainer. The seeds are too tough for the blender. And I'm essentially just very, very delicately, just the weight of the spatula, pushing it around, and the goo falls through, and the seeds and little flecks of skin stay at the top. Press too hard, you might force them through because, again, this isn't the finest mesh in the world. But that looks pretty good. Look at the bottom. Should be a little bit stuck there, but not too much, honestly. We're going to use that as a drip catch to get that over to the sink. And there's our tomato goo. It's actually a little bit waterier than I was expecting. We could have probably cooked it down a bit more. It's the consistency of like a slightly too thick tomato soup, which should be fine in the end. That just needs to be set aside. Hang on to that for later. Let it steam itself out in the corner over here. In the corner right there. Homemade tomato. I want to say tomato puree, but it's not quite. And there are a few, I can see a few little flecks of skin got through. So it's not going to be perfect when we get to the end. How long has that potato been in there? Probably long enough. Probably long enough. It's a relatively small potato. So let's get over there and take a peek at potato. Doesn't look much different, except that there's a little glossy specks around the poke holes. We're going to take our same poker, and we're just going to see how much it resists. It doesn't resist a lot, but it resists a little bit. But it's about the same resistance no matter where I poke, and it's real crispy at the bottom. Let's, since I flipped it over, put it back in. Oh no, it rolled itself back over. Don't roll over, please. I want you to cook the opposite direction for just a little bit more time. I'm gonna need this. Are you? Yeah, you're fine. I'm gonna need you out of the way, big tray, because we're gonna end up using some of these side burners for various things. The pressure vessel over here is still pressurizing. So we'll see how long that actually ends up taking. It's half an hour under pressure, but then it's the time it takes to pressurize and then the time it takes to depressurize. So, anything else that needs doing? No, everything that I've got yet to do is now waiting on something else. I can't make the roux in advance until I've got the shellfish stock ready to add to it. The tomato is already done and it just needs the veloute to be added to. The pressure is definitely building on the pressure pot over here. I just heard it loudly sort of hiss at me. Oh, and the little float gauge is rising up. So that should be beeping and saying it's ready to pressurize any second now. Or it's ready to pressure cook any second now. Okay. The potato is probably okay. It needs to be taken out and cooled, scooped out, combined with some flour, and turned into our gnocchis, gnocchi. Yeah. Starting to think I should have started a little early today and had something in the can to do as a meantime thing. Okay, we have another ad coming up. Tell you what, since I'm just standing around doing nothing, instead of that, let me actively contribute to the cleanliness of my own workspace. We'll put things away. We'll switch up to the main view so I can at least look at you and wave and say hi, and you can check out my pretty back of my head. Back ahead, yeah. Daizan, you are first and only an hour in. Welcome, welcome. You have missed none of the excitement. Oh, and a moisten. I have a glass over here. Moist. Oh, perfect timing. The pressure cooker just beeped and started counting down. So, yeah, you have missed none of the excitement. Everything that's been going on has, well, almost everything that's been going on has been inside of containers that you can't see into. So I roasted off a pile of shellfish shells because we were full up on those. And we have a potato in the oven baking as well. Then the shellfish shells transferred over to the magic pot, which you can see, oops, in the background there. Oop, there it is. Which just beeped. We are attempting to pressure cook some stock to get a more thorough extraction without having to simmer it for hours and hours, although I don't know how long that's going to... We'll find out. We will find out together how well that works. In the meantime, I have concocted this now slowly cooling tomato puree out of some excess tomatoes that were about to go off. So, hey heck, may as well toss them together. And then we strained out the seeds. Blended it and strained out the seeds. I believe I am shooting for a sauce arroway. We have not started building our gnocchi yet because the gnocchi need the potato, oops, which is still in the oven. Although I put it in there, I put it back in flipped just to make sure it's real thorough. It seemed like it was just about done anyways. We're going to need that pot, so we'll keep that pot handy. And I think we're going to need, do we need this pan or do we need, I'll decide what pan we need when we get to that part. So yeah, it's been slow moving. Things will pick up as parts become available and we work on them. The sauce is the longest element we have by a significant margin. So whenever part of the sauce is available, I'm going to have to drop whatever else I'm doing and run over to make sure that it gets done. Otherwise, we will have another long delay like we had on Saturday with the raviolis, although that one was my fault. But I would like to avoid another long, drawn-out, standing around session. Although, we have that now. I'm trying to do it... I have that right now, but I'm trying to do it toward the beginning rather than toward the end. Because if I do it toward the beginning, it feels more like it was planned. Okay, our ad break is over, so we're pulling the potato, which is very juicy. Take the oven off. We don't need the oven on if the potato's not in there. Nothing else is going in the oven. We'll give it another poke. But it was pretty done before. I just wanted to sort of give it a chance to even out a little bit. It goes in very easily. Okay. Potato needs to get off of this hot pan. Because I want it to cool before I touch it. So, wide wire rack, you are called into service. Cleanup is going to be fun. I probably should get some water in this pan now to start loosening these little spots up, because that's sticky sweet potato juice that's gone almost like caramel. Actually looks kind of like burnt caramel. Get that in there now. The water will help start dissolving. I'm putting something in the pan with some water in it, saying because it needs to soak. But the water will legitimately start dissolving those spots and make them easier to remove, because those spots are in fact made of sugar. Let me retrieve the flour tower. The tower of flour. Because we're going to need some flour. And I've recently seen a recipe that called for putting ricotta directly into the gnocchi themselves. And I don't know that I buy into that. But we could attempt it. Because we do have the dregs of a ricotta that's got to be used up somehow. But that'd be a that would be a pretty wild experiment as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that is a great idea. I'm trying to not make a huge quantity. I've only got one sweet potato. I'm trying to avoid making a big batch that I then have to freeze the extras of. I'm just trying to get better at cooking for the amount of people that I'm serving, which is frequently just me. So, how's your day going? How's things? How's tricks? What's the busy? As the kids say. I am actually going to do a couple of dishes real quick, get things out of the way. As long as I have a moment of time, it is the wise thing to do. It was really refreshing when I did some dishes last time, because I had downtime, and had just so much less cleanup afterwards. It was super refreshing to not be staring down the pile, because boy, I make quite a pile when I'm in the throes of cooking for the show. Cleaning that blade on the stick blender is always a bit of a challenge. Thankfully, it hasn't dried on or crusted at all this time because I'm doing it right away. So maybe I'll finally learn my lesson and always do it right away. Probably not though. Probably a one-time thing, and next time I'll set it on the side of the sink and it'll develop a nice thick crust, and then I'll have to figure out how to deal with it, because that seems like how it always goes. Okay. Wash that, wash that, wash that. Crane my neck to look over at you guys for a sec. I'm on the small panel. I should have reset it to the big panel before I got my hands all soapy. Okay. That's a decent start. We'll come back over, we'll cut the potato open, we'll see how it's doing. This is the part of cooking programs, the ones that actually have a crew and a production value, that you don't get to see. Somebody's got to do the dishes at all those shows, all those things. And you know Gordon Ramsay is not lifting a dang finger to wash his own dishes. He's got hired help to do that. Okay, that's a good start. We're coming back over to the counter. The potato has gradually been sort of crinkling up, which suggests that we had a little bit of a steam balloon forming. So it's a really good thing I had it all poked, otherwise we probably would have had a steam explosion. But let's get it out of there. On the outside, it's cool enough for me to handle. On the inside, it should be very soft, so I'm going to make sure my knife is quite sharp. Because otherwise we'll have a hard time with the squish. I'm also going to start in at point first and sort of cut toward the ends. And it is very, very soft. The sharp knife was just so that we wouldn't squish the skin in on it too badly, which would make it harder to extract. Now, this, as is, would be a mighty tasty thing. We've never had just a roast whole sweet potato. I do recommend. But this one is not destined for getting scooped out, getting topped with butter, scooped out and eaten. This one is destined for getting scooped into a bowl, and it's the inside's still blazing hot. Bookwoman, oh my goodness! 5 tier 1 subs gifted out by Bookwoman. You got Sizan, top of the list. You got XAODO1XX. I don't recognize that one. You got Datter, who was here the other day. You got Messy Essie. We've seen Messy around here. And you've got Wookie for the win. I remember that name too. And also, you're here. Wowee. Taking advantage of those Subtember discounts. Thank you so much. I don't have any sounds for it. You know. Yeah, I think Sizan's ran out recently because Sizan was not subbed just now, just a moment ago. Well, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. If you are watching, we are in the throes. We are affecting the final week of Subtember. Discounts on subscriptions abound. And starting actually today, discounts on gifted subs are now up and about. That is a tasty sweet potato. I wish I had a square-sided bowl. As a result of Subtember, I'm planning on attempting, at least, streams tomorrow and Thursday. I'm sadly going to be occupied Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I will miss the final hurrah of the event. The masher lives over there now. I haven't set any grand goals or done any subathons or anything. I guess because it feels like begging, and I don't want that, but okay. That is still pretty fibrous. It's times like this I wish I had a food mill. I want this to be as mashed up as possible. I want it to be borderline, like, I don't know, smooth. Any lumps at this stage will be very difficult to deal with once the flour is involved. Also, hi Pokemon, welcome in. How's it going? You have arrived just in time for what might actually finally be some exciting cooking compared to all these sort of slow-moving roasts and things that we've been doing that you can't even see. So I'm mashing the heck out of this, trying to really get all the lumps smooshed before we even get to the point of adding the flour, which will make any remaining lumps obvious but harder to deal with. Sweet potatoes also are slightly fibrous compared to regular potatoes, and thus there are inevitably going to be some fibers. I've already washed my hands a few times, so this is cool enough to handle. I'm actually going to go in it with my hands and see if I can't find any lumps by feel. I don't think so. I think we're pretty clear. Every time I do that, I lose a tiny bit of the potato. Okay, in that case, we're going to start adding flour. And we don't need very much because we don't have very much potato. But we want to incorporate it a bit at a time to ensure we don't add too much, and also to ensure that it has a chance to incorporate, because we also don't want lumps of flour getting up in this. And it shouldn't need any additional liquid except that which is in the potato. And eventually it's going to be stiff enough that I'm going to abandon the spoon and go at it with my hand, but so I'm trying to take about an eighth. There is actually an eighth cup measure here, but I'm not using it. Instead, I'm taking a quarter cup measure and kind of half-weighing it. As you can see, the flour just kind of disappears in there. And that's exactly what I want to see. I want to do that until it forms a cohesive whole. A cohesive dough. Instead of just a sticky mass. It's amazing how much water there is just in a sweet potato. Because we didn't boil this, we roasted this. So it was actually, if anything, it was losing water while I was cooking it. But it still has more than enough moisture to suck up that Oop, we do have a lump. Get mashed, lump. More than enough moisture to occupy now that's a full half cup of flour added to a single roughly half-pound sweet potato. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't. It was kind of an average-sized sweet potato. Nope, and I think that might actually be really close to the target. It's forming a shaggy mass, like a proper dough. And get my small scraper out, scrape off the spoon. Because if it's starting to stick to itself more than it sticks to the spoon, then we can scrape the spoon down and really go at it. So I'm going for consistency more than amount, although the guideline, I believe, is about a cup per pound of potato, which is, in fact, roughly a 1-to-1. It's close to, but not exactly on a 1-to-1 thing. I think we need a little bit more flour. Not too much, but we do need a little bit more. So throw in another scooper there. It needs to be to the point where I can knead it with my hands and roll it out like Play-Doh. Here on the table without it sticking to anything. We're going to start moving things out of the way, in fact. You. Is it dry enough that I can put it together with my hands? It looks like it. Okay, we're going to flour our worktop. Plunk this guy here on said floured worktop. We're going to move our tomato out of the way because I anticipate accidentally bumping it, spilling tomato everywhere, getting very mad at myself, making an enormous mess, and lamenting that I had not moved it out of the way when I had the chance. Removing everything out of the way. This is the only thing I'm going to work on over here. It's much more pillowy, soft and pillowy, compared to yesterday's, or not yesterday's, the weekend's pasta dough. We do need it to kind of come together as a dough and be smooth and workable. And hydrated. I'm not seeing any terrible lumps. This would be the stage when the lumps would become very, very evident if they were present. I'm gonna take this pinch of extra little flakes, stick them in the middle, and enclose them so that as we work it, they will hopefully incorporate better and better and better. We're just gonna kind of push this around and add flour to it, push it around and add flour to it until it is, see, it's all getting pretty hydrated now, and it's starting to stick again. Oop, oh, and it's real smeary when it does. Told you, there's a lot of water in there still. We need this to get to the stage where it is doesn't have loose flour on the surface and isn't sticking. Which we are currently not at. Ooh! And our pressure cooker has finished its pressure cook cycle and is now depressurizing. That's good news. We're going to wait for that timer now to reach 20 on the pressure down stage. Okay. This is working. This is working. I can't remember if we made sweet potato last time when we made gnocchi. And if we did, if it was pure sweet potato or if it was a mix of sweet potato and regular potato. I remember having a desire to make beet gnocchis, and I actually looked at doing that again today and decided against it because beets take so long to roast. By comparison. But they have such a lovely color. Okay. No, we're still on the stage where it's wanting to stick. As soon as there's no loose flour on the surface, it wants to stick. So it's supposed to be sort of soft and pillowy. But firm enough to roll into shapes and hold its shape. Ooh, we have an ad break. That once again, as always, snuck up on me. If you're not seeing an ad, you can thank Bookwoman for throwing out those gift subs just a moment ago. Try to see if I can't stretch this out and find. So it's getting stretchy, which potato, of course, does not do. We probably added another half scoop again, at least, to it since I took it out of the bowl. But we're getting to the point where it's stretchy and the surface isn't immediately sticking to me. Which is what I want. Once it's cohesive and smooth and not sticky, we're going to let it rest. It's pretty much there. If I pinch it out and fold it in on itself, the outside is tacky enough to pick up the loose scraps that are on the table here. I know I've had issues with these before, and I'm probably over flouring it just in an attempt to make sure that it's good. This right here is not a normal kneading method. I'm doing it because I'm trying to really tease out the interior to the surface. And gnocchi will always, or should at least, always be a little bit stickier than your standard dough. It gets floured when you're working with it. It gets floured when you're holding it. You're resting the pieces. I think that's as much as it's going to take though, because now we're reaching the point where the pinched together surface doesn't want to stick, and the exposed surface is not sticking to me. So get it. And now that we're here, you can see, I don't know if you can see, there are some little fragments that didn't quite get mashed because I wasn't able to put this through a food mill because I don't have a food mill. So I think we're going to call that good. The flour tower needs to stay here. I'm going to wash my hands real quick because they're covered in residue. Residuum. Get a few things out of the way there. Okay. Dry. My hands need to be very dry, or I will be adding extra unwanted moisture. We're going to flour our work surface again. We're going to flour a sheet to hold the finished ones because we've had issues with them sticking to each other in the past. And we're going to start making our gnocchis. I'm just going to use this. You can't even see it. Wow, wow! You can't even hardly see it. It just blends in. It's a transparent plastic lid that actually goes with one of the pans we used today. But I'm just going to use that since these don't need to go in anything. They don't need to be stored. Rather than get out one of my large pans. And I'm just going to flour its surface so that the individual gnocchis don't stick to it when they get in there. Flour up. Push everything slightly further out. No, we didn't stick to the table. Okay, that's the actual sign that I stopped at the right point. Okay. Flour up that, flour up that, flour up me. Cut that guy in half. Push the little pointy ends in. And start gently rolling it out in a sausage. Being careful not to do what I did on this end and press down too hard and squish the sausage. But then instead of having it roll and continue getting longer, you'll have it start sliding. So the gentlest of pressures, as gentle as you can press while still having it respond and move. And that's about the thickness we're looking for as well. Oop, and I rolled it back into, oh shoot, I pinched it. I rolled it into some of our excess flour. I'm going to move you up there. I'm going to push our flour back around, and we're going to roll the other one out right away. We're not going to mess around with trying to do one and then do the other one. Learned that lesson. Learned that lesson on Saturday when I didn't just do all of it immediately. Excess flour on the surface is no big deal. It's a good thing in terms of the individual gnocchis not sticking to each other or any of your surfaces. And it will also kind of come off into the boiling water once we get to the point of cooking these. Don't forget, this fully cooked sweet potato has to be cooked again because we've included a bunch of raw flour, which you definitely have to cook before eating it. Unless you really like E. coli. If you really like E. coli, I suggest eating lots of raw flour. It's an excellent source of E. coli. Okay. So one of them is a little bit longer than the other one, but that's fine. It's not the size that matters, or so they say. And we're going to cut them both at once. I should probably line them up with the space on the camera there. Okay. And the easy way to shape them is to just do little pillows. Because then they're just little pillow shapes. And you don't have to get fancy with trying to roll them and get little ridges or any of those things. Just accept that your gnocchis are going to be little pillows. If you really want to shape them, you can kind of poke the corners in. While they're nice and soft, which actually will make them cook a little bit more evenly. Those corners can get overcooked, sticking out like that in the boiling water. So I'm actually going to go ahead and squinch the little corners in on all of them. Even though there's no real reason for it. Got some sweet potato fibers sticking out of that one. I will leave those as well. Gnocchi are one of those things that are fun to eat, reasonably fun to make, a little bit time consuming, but much easier than standard pasta. They're fun to say. And they're actually pretty flexible. As you can see, I'm making these with sweet potato. I almost decided to make these with turnip today. We were close to having turnip. We were also close to having beet, except I couldn't find any really nice looking beets, and also I was a little bit worried about how much effort it would be to make them beet. But any sort of starchy root can be the accompaniment. accompaniment? That's the wrong word. The other ingredient, the non-flour part of these little dumplings. Ultimately, what these are is an unstuffed dumpling. Nice. And we shan't need the flour anymore, so I will put away the flour tower. I will clear this away. Just somewhere out of the way so I don't knock it or anything. Because we're going to clean the mess here right away too. Okay. I know you can't see it because it's white on white, but we got to get the other things to do. This isn't the last step on the countertop here. So, although it's the last step on the bare countertop, so I suppose it didn't need to be super thoroughly cleaned, but got to get it cleaned. Okay. We are moving over to here. Well, I'm going to put a bunch of water in this pot, which is going to be our gnocchi boil. So the gnocchi are going to have to be boiled, and then they're going to be sautéed to get a little bit of browning on the outsides with the scallops. So I will just do that right away. We're going to boil that right away. Have our little gnocchers there, ready to go in as soon as that is boiling. Our magic pot, our tomato mixture, needs to come back over here. Put it in the corner. We can get out the scallops now. Our tomato mixture is ready. Our magic pot has a few minutes left before I will do the grand pressure release on it. Hopefully it puts on a good show for us. And also, I'm going to have to find out how much stock we got out of it. I put in 4 pints. I put in a half gallon of water. It probably needs to be boiled to reduce it a bit after this. So I probably should get a big pot ready. To take some of the water out of it and concentrate the flavors. We'll probably have more there than I will need, even after concentrating it a bit. But that's the next thing. We're waiting. We've got a minute on the timer before I will then shift our camera. Actually, shift the camera now. Take a peek at it. There's the magic pot and the wall. And the dishes accumulating behind it. Hopefully the magic pot will put on a show for us this time. Just a few seconds left. Just a few seconds left. Oh, you guys actually probably shouldn't be there because that's a plastic container and we might melt it if it's too close to the burners. And there we are. Okay. Hold on to your butts. Well, you can't hardly see it. You can't hardly see it, so it's not much of a show, but it sure is hissing like mad. And it smells really good. Wow, does it smell good. It smells very shellfishy. Well, there's not... Unfortunately, the wall behind it isn't black. Otherwise, you'd be able to see the plume coming out of it. Boy, there was a lot of pressure in there. Boy, there was a lot of pressure in there. So, we are waiting for this to depressurize the rest of the way. Then I need to get the shells out. The shells get discarded at this point. You can compost the shells if you're not making stock, which I recommend making stock if you can. But if you're not making stock, you can put the shells right into your compost unsteamed, unboiled. Those flavor compounds won't hurt you. Let's clear up space a little bit. It says I can open it. It's gonna be hot, is what it's gonna be. I'm gonna put this strainer in the pot here, but I'm gonna take this over to the sink to actually do it, so you won't be able to see me pouring it out. It says open, so I guess we unlock it, open it up. Big cloud of steam. Boy, it smells good. Boy, it smells real good. It's one of those things I wish I could smell-o-vision it over to you. It smells real good. The liquid is reasonably cloudy, which is a good sign that we actually got a good extraction. I'm going to go ahead and turn this just off. Okay, and then we just pour it off. Okay, the shells should not probably go in the compost boiling hot. So I'm going to have them, once they stop dripping, just rest on the device. We'll bring our pot of freshly stocked stock over here. And that's what it looks like. I need to sample. Now this, I didn't add anything to it, but there was some flavor in it to begin with because the crayfish that were in there were pre-seasoned. So there's going to be some flavor in this from that. It's richly colored. Okay. It's delicate. It's a very sort of light, delicate flavor. There's a hint of spice to it. I'm going to want to reduce the part that I want to use, but I probably want to reduce the whole thing. I'm going to not reduce the whole thing right now. We're going to set it aside, or just shift it to the side. And I'm going to start constructing sauce here in this pan, or in this in the front burner. Or do I want to do the scallops in the soup pot? I don't know that soup pots are real common around these parts. What even was that? That was a pot friend. Okay. You know what I should use? You know what I should use? Get this one cleared. Oop, our water is boiling, so I'm cleaning the medium saucepan. That one, the medium saucepan, for use in making our sauce, which is what a saucepan is supposed to be for. With that water boiling, we're going to quickly and carefully put in all of our gnocchis. When they float, they're done. So it's not super imperative that we put them all in instantly at the same time, because if any of them are done before the other ones, they will float to the top and we can skim them away, provided they aren't sticking at the bottom, which would be a problem. So as soon as they're all in, I'm going to get something in there to stir them around with, just to make sure they're not sticking at the bottom. They're not likely to stick to each other at the bottom, but they do run a risk of sticking to the pot itself when they get down there. We have a pretty good spoon handy right away. The one I used, this one. I don't think they're sticking, so that's good. As they float to the top, we will skim them away. We'll pull them out, and that will be that. We're going to start sauce construction in this front pan. Heat on. Different kind of pot. I don't know for sure, but that pot, the way it's designed, looks like it's probably from a game. Don't forget, even though I do almost entirely cooking, the platform is more about games. Wow, look at these shells. You can't see the shells. Well, the shells are definitely doing their thing. I need the flour tower. No, I don't. No, I don't. I have some flour that is just going to go to waste if I don't use it. This flour, the flour we used for this flour, that can be my flour for my roux. Since it had nothing in it, it was just a dusting flour, and it's in a container, so I'm not even scraping it up off of anything. It was in a clean container. Perfect, so I don't have to get the flour tower out, and I don't have to waste flour. So we're gonna make a light roux here. Dining spear. Alexander from Elden Ring. See, I knew someone would know. It's from a game. I have never played Elden Ring. So we're going to build a light roux here. We're going to add our stock to it. We're going to add some tomato puree to it. We're making a sauce orore, which I'm probably pronouncing badly, but I'm trying to give it how the French would say it. French. We'll keep that butter handy. I can mount the sauce at the end with the butter. Okay, the butter's melted. Also, hi, Shining Spear. Welcome in. Add some flour. And not that spoon. So I plan on cooking this enough to reduce the liquid, but also it needs to be thickened with some roux. I'm not looking for a lot of extra flavor from the roux this time, and I definitely don't want any extra color from the roux. So we're going to be a little bit gentle and go for a light roux. Oh, there's an ad break in progress. That snuck up on me. They always sneak up on me. Meh. Meh. See? Meh. Meh. Well, that's boiling like crazy. Oh, I can see in there, amidst the foam that is forming, our gnocchis are at the top. So we're going to get them out of there before they get overcooked. And that is another reason gnocchi is very easy. They float right to the top when they're done. So you can see when they're done, and also they're super easy to retrieve with something like the spider. They do have a little skin on them of some of the extra flour that was on them. I may have overfloured them a little bit in my worry about underflouring them. Get rid of almost all of our pasta water. We're going to save just a smidgen of it. to help starch up our sauce base here. The dissolved starches will help our sauce form a more saucy consistency as I add things to it. This stuff is already the consistency of a sauce, except that it's going to taste like nothing. It's just going to taste like starch butter. Okay. Okay. Scooper. We can get out our half-cup scooper and start taking scoops of our fish mix. Get them in here. Get this guy on a simmer. Oh, it smells really, really like shellfishy. The flavor was actually very, very delicate, so I'm going to be careful and not overwhelm it if I can. It was also it was unsalted, so that's probably part of why the flavor is a little bit understated. But we want that, yeah, we want that hot so that it can come up to a. We want it to bubble pretty much most of the time. Okay. Adventure. So this one's taking a while, and I expected it to. This is the difference between today and Saturday. This one, I intended to take a while. I knew it was going to take a while, and I honestly probably should have started a little bit early, but whatevs. Too late now. Okay, heat can come down because we're at a vigorous simmer. I don't want a rolling boil. Since we're at a vigorous simmer, I'm going to, if I've got, actually we'll find out if I've got any. I might not have any. I do. Bay leaves. I know I'm real low on them. There wasn't any in the stock itself, but I will deposit one in this part. Okay. Okay, that's gonna get another scoop of stock. And sort of simmer with itself for a bit. Uncle Stinky, hi from Seattle. Well, hi from Wisconsin. Welcome in. We're getting into a little bit more dynamic cooking. Hopefully that sauce comes out very delicious and French. I don't have any shallots, but I have these teensy tiny red onions. So we're going to use garlic and a teensy tiny red onion. The butter is still on hand. Because we're making the sauce. Once the sauce is a saucier consistency, we're going to cook scallops. We're going to brown the gnocchis and cook the scallops in that pan I had out a second ago, this one. this pan. This pan is really good for tossing. But I want this pan to have some flavor of its own. So we're going to start it with the garlic and the onions. So since the sauce just has to simmer, we're going to take the back burner that we were boiling on, transfer our sauce back there, use our front burner with a half of our remaining butter. Well, I appreciate the lurks. Welcome in. I suppose, hello, you've been here the whole time. Hello, it's me. And Taizan's lurking too. Okay. With our butter melting, our red onion goes in the pan. We pop back over to it. We grab this tool, because we're going to need to be able to scrape the bottom of this pan. And we give this a push around. So this would have been a shallot if I had a shallot. Oh, I do appreciate, that was something we didn't ever get properly before I got the lavalier mic. You couldn't hardly hear the stovetop sizzle. Now, it picks it up great. Glad you're enjoying it. While that's getting started, I need to peel this garlic. We're going to peel and mince. Means I'm just going to smash it. Almost smash. Rather than pulverize it today, we're going to get another knife dirty. Really smush it up and give it a mince. And get it ready to go. Oh, you guys are over on the other side, not looking at me mince. Pan's probably just a smidge too hot. We do want some fond to form, however, so we're not too chuffed about that. Gonna to give our fish stock another scoop of itself. We're trying to concentrate that, so it's easier to boil it down a bit if it's a smaller volume to begin with. And we don't need it until we need it, so I'm taking advantage of that by having it simmer over there. Now that the garlic is in, we are going to need to keep an eye on this. The garlic has a much higher risk of burning. So it's not quite fragrant yet, so I don't want to dive in on it too fast. But soon, very, very soon, within the next several seconds, the scallops need to go in there. And I'm not sure how many scallops I want, so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Okay, that's about half of what I had there, so that's good, because then I'll have just about that much left for whatever I do with them in the future. These are, of course, little bay scallops, so they will cook pretty fast. They will also attempt to stick. So we need to do the old scrape the bottom and ensure that nobody's burning trick. Okay. And now that they have gotten themselves started, we do need to deglaze that pan. The fond is finding itself quite stuck on to the bottom. So there we go, it gets pushed down. That was just some Chardonnay. And as you can see, it picks up all that brown stuff that was starting to stick at the bottom. It did toast our onions probably just a little bit too much. And then we want most of that liquid to cook away again. How's the consistency of our sauce looking? It's foamy, it's still a little watery. How's it taste? It doesn't coat the back of a spoon, so it's thicker than that. Delicate, needs salt. That part definitely needs salt, which makes sense because there is no salt in it. Oop. These guys stuck together. These guys are also going to go in this pan. They're already cooked, but I want them to mingle. think the scallops are probably going to get a little bit overdone. I have a really hard time gauging when to put scallops in, and they end up over. Especially these little baby ones. Honestly, they probably should have, for maximum perfection, been done in a separate pan on their own and then tossed in at just the right moment. We need to heat up on this pan now because we need to boil some of that liquid off. We want all these guys to kind of start merging with each other. I've salted our veloute back here. Salt makes all the difference. And salt makes all the difference. It tastes like something all of a sudden. And that's why you put salt in stock, but you shouldn't pre-salt your stock for storage because then it's harder to control the amount of salt that you put in it at the end. I want that to boil harder. And I want to fish out the bay leaf. As we no longer need it. Bay leaves do something. No one knows what they actually do. Chefs put them in things because they are told to. I'm adding about half of our tomato puree. Stir it in. It's an interesting color. We do want that to get hotter and really start to boil because it needs to thicken up. I'm going to add all of our tomato puree. Okay, let that sit for a moment. Make sure we're not causing a disaster over here. Yep. We're hot and we're almost dry on the bottom. So honestly, this side is ready to accept the sauce. Really, now is the time I should have put the scallops in, so that they weren't in the pan so long. They're going to be overdone. I misjudged that. I definitely misjudged that. Okay. What is the thickness of our sauce looking like if I spoon it? It's getting there. I think if I add it to this in doses, and give us the tossy toss push. Okay, we're definitely going to have to add some parsley to this because we currently have orange on orange. But that has taken our sauce into the target consistency really, really well. Because if I take my scooper now, give it a dip in our sauce and pick it up, we have a good coating on the back of the spoon. So, I guess, heat off. Wow, it's tasty too. It's tasty too. We're going to take the last little bit of our butter with the heat off and chuck it in there. And that will help our sauce take on its final form. Golly! Okay, throwing scraps away, get the knives out of the way. Okay, who's ready for plating? You don't really have much of a choice in terms of plate because of that sauce element. So you put some butter in right at the end like this in a sort of a thick sauce, which is called mounting the sauce. And the reason you add some at the end after you've taken it off the heat and melt it in is that you get the uncooked butter fat has slightly different textural properties than the cooked butter fat that we have in there from the initial saute of the shallots and onions and garlic, and the cooked butter fat that's in the roux. And the uncooked butter fat helps give us, or I don't know if it's the fat, but the uncooked butter helps form this really glossy sauce. We are going to gently plate and not lose out on any of our glossy sauce. And I have extra fish stock for future projects. Okay, here we are. I need to clean up the plate a little bit. Okay, good enough. And then it needs something green so that it's not just all orange on orange. Parsley to the rescue. Which I'm not even going to bother chopping up. We're just going to use it as a leaf garnish here. Oh, we have an ad coming up that I'm going to snooze us out of because it is not time for that. Or should I play? No. Okay, I snoozed an ad, but I'm going to now immediately play an ad so I can go take photos. Ooh, it's hot in the kitchen. My light is not plugged in. Move stuff and things and stuff. Yeah. And there we have it. Oh, we have several seconds left on the ad, which is fine. I will take advantage of that and do a little bit of tidying. I'm not going to do our tasting until we're back from the ad, just so that everyone can be included if they so choose. And welcome back from the ad. I present our finished product. Scallop and sweet potato gnocchi aurore. I guess let's dive in and see what it tastes like. Make sure to get a scallop and a gnocchi. Mmm. 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 I'm glad I added a lot of sauce because the gnocchis have their own flavor that fights with the sauce because they are rather dense, which gnocchis are supposed to be. So having the sauce linger in your mouth like that means that you don't end up with just a chewy piece of gnocchi before you run out of sauce. The scallops are slightly over, but they're not egregiously over, so I will forgive myself for that. It's the sauce is really good. It's it's thick and creamy. It's almost like a it's a really thick, creamy sauce. It's God, what is it? It's I'm looking at my I'm trying to compare it to something. It's trying to compare it to something without being gross. It's thick. It's all that work I put into the sauce. Here, I'll show you. If I dip my fork in just the sauce part, it gives you that really like thick coating. Mmm. And it's got a striking flavor. It's not a really strong flavor. It's got the savoriness of the tomato, but it's got an almost delicateness to it. This whole thing is not really like punch you in the face strong flavors. It's like understated, delicate flavors. But maybe it's just because I literally just made it. I can kind of tell that it took a lot. There's a lot of time because the flavor of the sauce is really melded and developed. Mmm. Mmm. I think if the scallops had gone in when I said I should have put them in after they were already in, they'd be a little bit better. They're a little chewy, and since the gnocchi is also intentionally chewy, it's a lot of similarly chewy lumps. So that's the only issue I have is the texture. The flavor really has nice complements to it. It doesn't taste fishy at all. It's just this sort of, I don't know, gentle undertone of the shellfish stock. It's also impressive. The sauce is this creamy, and it has no milk or cream in it. It has quite a bit of butter in it, but well, actually not that much butter. There's 3 tablespoons butter total in this, which is quite a bit of butter, but it's not like we went nuts with butter. We've made some other things that just had a ton of butter. And we didn't even use 100% of our sauce. We still have a bit. So some of the butter is still in here. So we didn't even use the full thing. It's very interesting. It's hard to describe because it's not. Usually I describe, I'm tasting this, you know, the various parts as they come through to me. This all tastes like one thing. This has been combined together. So I'm not tasting, oh, there's the tomato, oh, there's the fish, oh, you know, the various bits, which makes it hard to put my finger on what I'm tasting. It's got a little bit of acidity. It's got a little bit of savoriness. The way it coats your mouth, though, is like, it's almost like a pudding, like a really soft pudding. Velvety, velvet. That's a chefy word. It's velvety, and it needs a glass of wine. That is very good. Let me taste just the sauce, this part of the sauce, because this doesn't have the garlic, the onions, or any of the roux or the fond from our pan in it. See how much of this actually came from the sauce. Okay, that's very different. The shellfish flavor is much stronger over here than it is in the finished result. And the tomato is more sharp. It actually tastes less tomatoey, even though there's fewer ingredients to fight with the tomato, but it has more of the acidity, more of the sharpness to it. Interesting. I really like that sauce. It took a long time to make because I made my own shellfish stock from scratch just now to make it, but skipping that step, it wasn't actually that much work to make it, and it's very, very tasty. I'm going to keep the Aurore sauce in mind for the future. It reminds me of like a pre-made vodka sauce, but a lot nicer and slightly seafoody. It is past 7. I started at 4:30, so it is past 7. So I am going to wrap us up so I can enjoy this that I put all this work into. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks especially to Bookwoman for the gifted sub bomb out to the community. Bye, Stinky. I'm going to sign us off by sending us somewhere from my list. I'm going to just impulsively select Slay3K because we haven't been to see him in a while, because he usually starts after I end, and I've run a little bit long, so he's available. So we're gonna jump over there because I don't always get a chance. Looks like he's just getting started, so we will see what he's doing when we get there. His tag says House Flipper, but it looks like he's just getting started looking at chit chat. I want to say I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to end up happening. I would like to be back tomorrow to take advantage of Subtember. And I would also like to be back on Thursday to take advantage of Subtember. So I guess stay tuned. Thursday for sure. Tomorrow, less sure. And also it might not be cooking one or both of those days, depending on how I can manage to wrangle ingredients, recipes, ideas, all that nonsense. Because I'm trying to get some games set up for October, so we can do some spookums. Anyways, the kitchen is really hot, so I'm looking forward to getting into the next room where it is less hot. So I will see you all next time. Bye. Stop streaming.